Okay, welcome to the School of Wedding Photography. I'm here with Preston Utley, a Denver, Colorado-based photographer. He has got, I'll put some photos up now, he's got a long history as a newspaper photographer and photo editor, is that right, Preston?
Yeah.
Right. And has been in the world of weddings, although he wouldn't describe himself as a wedding photographer, for how long?
10 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. 10 years as a photographer. And then, before that, I was a newspaper photographer up in Vail, Colorado, just a small newspaper up there, up in the Rocky Mountains. And worked my way up to photo editor and was sort of ready for a change and sort of stumbled into weddings and kind of that's how it's surprisingly, it's been a really good fit for my personality and for my style and so it's been a good gig for the last 10 years.
I've read some things you said about personality and on Instagram, I think, and so I'm wondering about that. So when you say you think it's a good fit for your personality, what do you mean?
I don't know. I guess the nice thing I always liked about the first thing I always liked about weddings was that at the newspaper it was you had 15 minutes, you go in and you get a photograph and sort of it accompanies the story and it's sort of sub to the story and occasionally we would cover things like car accidents, kindergarten classes, food reviews, high school basketball games, powder days. Sometimes it was really slow. We'd have to drive around and just look for people doing stuff. So it was just a lot of like mishmash of stuff. And a friend of mine had from high school was getting married and she asked if I would shoot her wedding. I said, sure, I'll give it a shot, and just took the approach like it was an assignment for a newspaper or a magazine. At this point in my career, I was sort of keyed in onto the work of Ben Chrisman and Brett Butterstein, and they kind of have a similar backstory as I do, but I saw the work that they were making and really was like, wow, you can do that, huh? That's allowed, because my impression of a wedding photographer was somebody who was kind of slow and dopey and carried themselves really poorly and had, cameras draped on them, big flashes, and, yelled at everybody. And that was not the kind of photographer I was. I'm more of a fly on the wall and more reactive. I'm not conceptual. I just sort of observe and respond to what I see. And so surprisingly, weddings were a good fit for that, kind of approach to photography. Somebody that just, I went to photo school here in Denver. I have a bachelor's degree that's totally useless, but what I would do when I would get an assignment in school, I would just go out in the streets here in Denver and try to fulfill that assignment. And then I discovered what I was doing was kind of called street photography, and sort of fell down this path of like, Alex Webb and Joel Meyerowitz and Gary Winogrand and Lee Friedlander. And those were sort of my very like core kind of inspirations. And so that's sort of, I've always been quiet and shy, and I do have to project myself during those family formals and stuff. But other than that, like it is, and even that's a good fit. I can tell jokes and get people to laugh, and people really, respond well to that. So I never saw myself as a wedding photographer, and stumbled into this. And it really has been a great fit. And there's so many different styles now, and so many different types of personalities that are getting married, and now the couple can really find like not only a visual fit but a personality fit as well. I've kind of found that a lot of my clients aren't particularly into being in the spotlight. They like, you know, they want to have a wedding and have people come and celebrate them, but they don't want two photographers and two videographers and sort of all these people kind of following them around and making them do things. So yeah, my clients have kind of found me, and I've found my clients, and yeah, it's been a really good fit, and since I've been doing it for 10 years now, I really know how to talk and kind of know what I'm looking for when I write. I empathize with people's shyness and people's like not wanting to be the spot in the center of attention, but also understand the value of like really good photography and good moments and all that. So yeah.
I guess what I'm wondering is how much you have created or attracted clientele that through your words and the photos that you choose to display on your sort of website or social media. How much has that been sort of a conscious choice that you thought, well, this is me and I want people that respond to this, or has it been sort of?
It's sort of been both. It's been this melding of both. You know, when I stopped working at the paper and started doing weddings, I was like I said, I looked at like Ben Chrisman and Brett Butterstein and sort of WPGA, but also saw like, you know, the stuff that Jose Villa was doing, and sort of was like really confused for a long time, like visually speaking, you know, just sort of lost myself for a bit. And then, you know, there's all these weird competitions, WPJA, Fearless, Rangefinder, and those can really mess with your head too. And I think, well, for example, you know, WPGA specifically, that was the sort of organization I responded with initially, just because of where my background and the way I photographed. But you know, they have categories such as, you know, getting ready, and some of those getting ready photos are like guys showering, and you know, like really like provocative or bold, or you know, like these guys are photographing like all day long, you know. And so maybe in the first few years I offered all day coverage. And what the hell does that mean? Like you're just shooting yourself in the foot, you know. And then I sort of realized that my clients, you know, the people that were seeking me out didn't want all day coverage. They didn't want me there. The groom barely wants me there to begin with, you know. Yeah. And so the groom really doesn't want me there, like in the bathroom with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They just don't get that, and they don't need that, and I understand that. So, you know, that's something I realized kind of along the way. I sort of tell this story as my anecdote for that moment, which is like I had a triple header in Estes Park, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 different weddings. Luckily, they were all in Estes Park, a mountain town here, about an hour and a half from Denver. So I just stayed in town that weekend, but a lot of the people I shoot live here in town, even though we're going about an hour. So I always like to meet a couple weeks before the wedding and just sort of go over the details of the day. And I told the grooms, I said, just wait to put your stuff on until my photographer gets there, and so we can get some of that for the slideshow and the book and stuff. And say, okay. Every single time I dropped off my second photographer to the groom's room, getting ready room, each day, the grooms were totally and completely ready, dressed. And that was sort of the weekend where I was like, okay, this is like, you know, I'm like forcing myself onto my clients. You know, I kind of need to just like accept certain things that you know, I don't need to go for WPGA winners every single weekend. Like it's not about, contests are about the photographers, you know, weddings are about the people in the weddings, and that's really what it should be about. I think, you know, now it's Instagram probably more so than contests. You know, Instagram, it's like everything's becoming really homogenous. I think like everybody's just seeing what kind of work the person that's getting the most likes and followers is making. You know, I'll shoot with a Contax 645 because this is like what all the people in Utah are doing, or whatever. You know, all my photos are gonna be brown because, you know, this is my favorite photographer on Instagram is making brown photos. You know, so I just think that and that even goes back to kind of what we were talking before. You know, staying competitive and like, but sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But I just think that, you know, the weddings are about the couple and the guests and their story, and I think we get a little too caught up on competing with each other and blowing each other's minds, and it's not really. They don't, you know, the couple just doesn't. My couples just don't care, you know. I think they're not, you know, they don't need to be like, they don't even need to be Instagrammed. It's weird. I send my stuff out and I get nice responses and stuff, but they don't, you know, they're not blasting it all over the internet or anything. You know, they keep it for themselves and they enjoy it. But
that kind of leads me to a sort of bigger question about, I guess, how you. I think you've already started to hint at what you think, but you know, what do you think of this sort of industry, inverted commas, of wedding photography?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting. I think that, I mean, the wedding industry can be honestly kind of like predatory and make people feel insecure, like, oh, if you can't, you know, if you don't have this kind of budget, then you better bring it with your DIY, because otherwise your wedding's going to look like shit and nobody's going to publish it, you know, or whatever. You know, I just think that like there's that level where it just seems like predatory and competitive. I have some really great, you know, colleagues here in Colorado and, you know, abroad now with social media and stuff, and that's really great. But I think, you know, we have to, established photographers now have to be careful of up-and-coming photographers. Up-and-coming photographers can also be predatory and sort of take advantage of up-and-coming the established photographers, whether it be like second shooting and then, you know, sort of taking advantage of that opportunity and friending, you know, the vendors and friending the brides and grooms and the guests, and then, you know, sort of using those photos as their own. And so yeah, but I do think that there's some great circles and there's some great resources. You know, I tend to distance myself a little bit. Just I've kind of unfollowed quite a few people, and not because they're not making good work or good people. It's because it's probably the opposite. It's because they're making good work, and but it's not work that I would make. And if I see it, it gets into my, you know, it gets in there, and then it messes with me, and I start second guessing myself, and you know.
Which I guess kind of leads back to what we were talking about earlier about sort of you creating this, I don't want to say brand, but you know, like your reputation, who you are as a photographer, is by rejecting a lot of things, and not being influenced by them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of the anti-wedding vendor, wedding photographer, or the anti-wedding photographer, wedding photographer. Not that I'm, not that I'm, but it's weird. So I'm not married either, so I don't, I'm not even, I'm totally and completely single. So, I don't have even that to like connect with my clients, like I don't have like my wedding or my girlfriend or, my partner to connect with these people. So I generally try to, like I said, connect with them via empathy or just try to I like to kind of talk through what I'm seeing or what I did to make a certain picture or just kind of, reveal a little bit of the trick, not in its entirety, but enough for people to kind of, gain a little more insight in how I see and the way I work and that sort of thing. So that's kind of the dialogue I go for rather than, because I don't have, that other way to connect with them in terms of a relationship.
Now, March 4th, 1960, an anonymous photographer takes a great portrait of your grandparents. And you've got this on your website, and it's such a great photo. I love it. I'd love to take it up myself. And you make this really lovely point, which is that this photo is invaluable to you and your family. And that if someone was to offer you, a large sum of money for it, you wouldn't take it. And I guess, do you feel like that this sort of pointing out the emotional value of photography to your clients has been helpful?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And it's also, sort of, this is how I live also. I mean, I like things that age well. I like, I'm very much like my clients. I'm more likely to myself and my clients are more likely to go look for decor at an antique mall rather than a Pier 1 Imports or whatever, it's worth making that extra effort to find the deep cuts, and I'm so grateful to have that photo just to use as an anchor in kind of sharing my own, value in photography and how well it ages. I mean, that was whatever that was, 60 years ago, about. Yeah, so, I'm really grateful to have that. Not only, especially as a wedding photographer and somebody that does documentary photography, but also just as a photo, as a true, this is really encapsulates my, grandparents, the personality of my grandfather and sort of the shy kind of go along with it attitude of my grandmother. And as a side note, my grandma, my grandparents are not these kind of people or, whatever this is going to, but my grandma actually ended up getting a nose job. I don't know her to have a nose in the photo.
Right.
So there's that too. There's just so much value in photos and how they can just capture so much emotion and meaning and storytelling qualities in just a single frame, and I think that does resonate with a lot of people that end up booking with me is that I am honed in on those moments and the importance of some of those relationships and so I'm really grateful to have that photo. It's
It sounds like you are. It feels like you're approaching photography, or the way you approach photography is in line with who you are as a person. So it's there's no sort of disjuncture between, you know, Preston, the wedding photographer, and Preston, the guy that you'd meet on the weekends, you know, or on a Wednesday. It's the same person.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you think that having kept those two, basically not being different people, not being a photographer who, you know, follows trends or whatever, but isn't really being true to who you are, has allowed you to stay in wedding photography longer than if you had not done that.
I would say so. I mean, still to this day, the thing that excites me most about photographing a wedding is its potential. You know, it's what potential this wedding could possibly bring. You know, what kind of images or compositions are going to present themselves. So that's still, you know, that's something that keeps me going forward, is just getting those reps in. I love working out, basically, is really what I consider it to be, from a photographic side of things. You know, it actually took me a while to like get myself back with my photography, or with my wedding photography. I think after a few years of kind of, you know, trying to be what I thought a wedding photographer was, I just got too tired, you know. I just couldn't keep it up anymore, and had to just like, you know, I decided to start meeting clients for happy hour, and, you know, just, you know, those sort of little things that it's just like, I'm just, you know, I can't, it's not like I was trying to be somebody else, but I was trying to be a wedding photographer, you know, or what I thought people wanted a wedding photographer to be in whatever year that was, 2010, or, you know, now. So, yeah, I've kind of like, I've just kind of been able to now be myself and have a lot of fun on the day, and people, I think, respond to that, see that I'm comfortable, that I'm fun. You know, I still find myself second guessing myself, or hearing a voice inside, a random guest voice inside my head that's like, what, you know, people get married in the mountains for the background, you know, and sometimes during the family photos, the light is better over here in the shade where there's just nothing but trees in the background. And I have to like continue. I'm always fighting myself, like, you know, I can put them in front of the mountains, but the light's harsh and ugly, and they're going to be squinty. Or I can, you know, I always do it over there in the pretty light, but I always see people going back over there and doing, you know, their cell phone selfies over there. So I've got that still going on, but yeah, I think from like just a personality part, in terms of the words I use on my website and the things I write on Instagram, I definitely try to just, you know, be myself and sort of be empathetic to my potential clients.
And I mean, I don't want to ask for statistics, but has that paid off? Just being yourself.
I would, definitely, yeah. Like I love my clients. I really do. Like, you know, I really enjoy my clients. I might not always enjoy their wedding, but I generally still like them as people, you know. I think they're good humans, you know. But yeah, I think that it has. I mean, not necessarily in the amount of weddings, but the quality, you know, the quality of people I'm working with, the quality of people that understand, you know, what I do and how I do it, and, you know, they get really excited about receiving their images, and it has, and not, like I said, not in the numbers. I'm the type of person that, out of the 20 weddings I have this year, I think I'm working with 3 wedding planners. I'm definitely more on that sort of, not DIY, but maybe DIY, or at least, just kind of minimalist weddings, and which is understandable. I'm empathetic to the price of weddings. It's such a fine line. I was talking to a friend today about, just pricing and price points, and it's just, I think I offer a lot of value for the price point I'm at, and I'm very big on continuing my education. I've been attending workshops since 2010. Basically every year I've done something to continue my education, whether it be business related or photography related. And that's like, that's I do that for me, and my clients reap the rewards of that. But that's also, kind of, again, but yeah, those are all sort of the things that we're all you're all paying for. The little Ona bag that I throw in my car is costs 3 times more than the car I'm driving.
That's such good business, I love it. Okay. Now, I know this is a kind of loaded word, but it's kind of what I want to try and understand what you think of. It's how would you define being a successful wedding photographer? My metric is, I'd love more inquiries. I get enough weddings, that I would consider myself a successful photographer. I don't need, accolades or publicity or anything like that. I use the sort of money I make at weddings to fund personal photographic trips, and so as far as I'm concerned, I'm successful. I don't know that I see myself being on any sort of pedestals or anything within the wedding industry. But I maybe my metric is too low. I just want consistent work and good people to work with, and opportunities to make photographs, and use those opportunities to make more opportunities to make more photographs. It's sort of just a cyclical thing, and so it's a success. It's 10 years. I don't think that. I think I would really have to totally shut down business to actually not get inquiries, or I think I have a very good sort of referral circles or whatever of former brides and grooms that refer me. I mean, that could potentially, I guess, that well could run dry perhaps, but they always seem to sort of generate new circles. So I don't, I'm not, on a personal note, I'm not interested in being a destination wedding photographer. I like working from home and using that, just traveling to the destination to photograph it without the pressure of wedding and figuring out where the reception in the hotel and all this other stuff is. When I shoot outside of Colorado, I find it terribly inconvenient, because it's you're, instead of, just being locked down for 8 hours or 10 hours or whatever your wedding coverage day is, you have to fly out the day before, and then you shoot the wedding the day of, and then you fly out the day after, and that's just, that's kind of time away from home at this point. Not that
time away from home. It's I'd rather just kind of wake up in my own bed and deliver. I've been delivering a little preview like the day after the wedding, so I like to try to get that done and sent off. And so yeah, I'd consider it myself a success, but yeah, maybe it's a low metric, but yeah, my metric is to make enough money to make more photographs.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting, because I think that, I feel like that would be not wanting to be a destination wedding photographer goes against what a lot of people in the industry are keen to be.
Yeah.
And it's actually a nice idea, the idea of traveling exclusively for personal photography.
Yeah. I just, and I haven't billed myself as a destination photographer either. So, when a couple reaches out about, I had an inquiry for a wedding in Mexico near the end of this year, and we just, you guys it probably sounds crazy, but okay, it was an Indian and a Catholic wedding. So first day was Indian ceremony. Second day was more of like a standard, like Western sort of, welcoming day or whatever, welcome barbecue. And then the third day was like more of a Catholic Mexican wedding. So the bride was Mexican and the groom was Indian. So that to me sounded like 2.5 weddings basically, and I kind of bid it like that, and I bid it with travel, and they didn't sort of think that was going to cost that much, because they thought that they were providing me with an opportunity to go to Mexico. But I'd rather just go to Mexico on my own, and give that opportunity myself without having, sure, I could have extended the trip, but then I've got all their digital assets on me also, as well as my own assets. And, it just, so those are sort of like the things that kind of turn, would I love to shoot something in Italy? Or, yeah, of course, I'm totally open for opportunities, but it just has to be the right opportunity, yeah, for those. And, yeah. So
I think that probably,
yeah,
I'm thinking of the fact that there are a lot of, the couple may have been surprised, because there probably are a lot of photographers out there that would do that wedding for dirt cheap, for the opportunity. And
yeah, if they would have gotten to me 5 years ago or something, I probably would have taken it. I probably would have jumped on it. Yeah.
But it's not sustainable.
Right.
You can't keep doing these basically free weddings.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
not.
You're going to burn out if you keep doing that. Financially, as well as like just energy levels.
Yeah, and if you're especially if you're like got a family and stuff, if you're got kids and a wife. Yeah, that gets old quick. Yeah, for them. Yeah.
Now, you said in one of your Instagram posts, I think, that the most dangerous mental place for you as a photographer is complacency. And I'm just wondering, how do you keep inspired?
Oh man, this is last week's splurge here.
Oh wow.
And it's everything from like, I really like books. I really like, photo books. I like to make my own books. I put, this is like my own, I've made 5 of these. One a year for the last 5 years of these. Like,
this is your personal work? Is that right?
This is my personal work, yeah. But yeah, I look at everything except wedding photography, basically, as much as I can. I love photography, and I have a lot of great friends that are photographers locally, and like I said, I do workshops. In 2010, took a workshop with Alex Webb. I've actually done a few with him and his wife. I've done a workshop with Sam Abel, National Geographic photographer, a few years ago. I did a book workshop. This year I worked with a woman, her name is Mary Virginia Swanson, who's more on marketing your photographs, and sort of I'm trying to figure out how to market my personal work a little bit more, sort of get that going. I won't grab that one, but I just look at a lot of books. I look at stuff on YouTube. I love stumbling upon like Gary Winogrand interviews on YouTube, like old stuff, not, there's a lot of kids with YouTube channels that have no experience, but they talk like they know about stuff, but they have no experience. I know they have no experience because I've been that old before, and I thought I had it. You just think you know, and you think you're ready. And photography is like a super slow game. It's a super slow process. It's super slow to develop. It takes a ton of patience. So yeah, I try to just like consume as much like non-wedding photography as possible. I really like, Magnum type photographers, documentary type photographers, but I like, people like Ralph Eugene Neatyard and sort of the weirder kind of conceptual stuff as well. But yeah, I think I just like to apply that to my wedding work. I think like when I'm able to really like, there's only been a few photos that I've been able to take out of my wedding photographs and sort of insert them into my personal work, Some people do it really good, but for some reason, because I know it's a wedding, it always feels like it's a wedding. The photographs that I want to put into my personal work, but yeah, I just don't want to like repeat myself over and over again. Become complacent or become robotic or, and that's part of the thing about weddings. I think there's just every single wedding is an opportunity to see again, Whatever happened at the last wedding was at the last wedding. Now you have this new wedding to like carve a story out of.
I said this recently, but I'll say again, I always think of them a little bit like Groundhog Day, where you can do it better the next time.
Right. It's like people have asked me too. It's like, does this get boring? Does this get redundant? Is it the same? And I sort of use the analogy of like it's a play. Act 1 is the same. It's always Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 are always the same. You're always getting ready. You're always having a ceremony. You're always having a reception. Yeah. But it's the details. It's the dialogue. It's the setting. It's the all those other nuances are completely different. So it's like, there's the actors look different than the actors did at the last play, so it's Groundhog Day, but with all those nuances, and you have those opportunities to like, do just a little bit better. I mean, you don't have to, we're not, just a little bit better is good enough.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, if you were going to give your younger self advice when starting out in the world of weddings, what would it be?
Oh man, I mean, I just think it goes back to what what I was saying about the YouTube kids and stuff. Just understand. I wish I would have understood how long it takes and how slow the process, and just or at least like acknowledged it and just been okay with it and been a little bit more patient with it. And definitely, there's some advice I'd give myself, the younger Preston, and the same advice today. Like it's really, no matter what you look at, it's dangerous to get too oversaturated with what you're looking at and sort of lose yourself. But I think, thankfully I've always wanted to be a photographer, and I've always done personal work. I think the biggest, what I would say any young photographer, is to find out what they're interested in outside of wedding photography. That's like really hard. Like, what do you want? Why? What do you want to photograph outside of wedding photography? Why do you really care about photography? Because weddings have a shelf life. Like, either your body gives out, you just get old and out of touch, you just get sick of it, you lose, you don't have that connection with any clients anymore. It's just, weddings have a shelf life, and then what are you going to do? And that, I think if photography isn't fulfilling on a personal level, then it might be worth, considering something else, or I guess, making hay while you can and then getting out, when you're burnt. But I think for any young photographer, just really discovering what it is they're interested in with photography outside of weddings, like look at other people's work, not on Instagram, like study the history. Like, it's important to understand where this all came from and why people are doing what they're doing. Like, there's photographs people are making that were made 100 years ago that they don't even realize those, that this is just sort of, everybody's just been taking that, look and going with it. And then I'd also tell myself to save money for taxes.
Yep. That's a tricky one.
Better account. Yeah. The business stuff, definitely. Yeah. The photo stuff is fun and easy. The business stuff is like, especially as sort of a flighty creative or whatever, that's the stuff. That's the stuff. Run a proper business. I wish I would have, been proper about it from the get-go. But you kind of gotta. I'm the type of person that has to touch the stove. Like, you can tell me the stove is hot, but I'm still gonna touch it just to make sure. Yeah, I gotta get burned. So.
No, like, I think a lot of people get into being a photographer, a wedding photographer, or an artist because that's what's important to them, and the sort of business side of thing is sort of like, it's an afterthought almost.
Yeah.
It's critical.
It's critical.
I feel like people should be going to business workshops instead of photography sometimes. Yeah.
It's good to balance that. Like I said, I went to photo school. I have a bachelor's degree. I wish I would have not gone. I mean, maybe if I would have wanted to go to school, I would have just gone to like community college, but then gotten like a business degree or an accounting or something, like that would have been so much smarter than just 4 years at photo school.
Yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely agree on that point. All right. Final question is actually kind of a multi-stage question, and I haven't done this before, so
okay.
I don't know how it's going to go. So let's just start. It's based on something that I have read about, and it's called 7 Levels Deep. So what I'm going to do is just start with the first question, which is, why do you take photographs?
That's a good question. The easiest quick question is because I can't not. I mean, I discovered this thing when I was 15, and it's been 23 years later, and it still interests me and intrigues me. And, of course, it's yada yada, darkroom and, all that magic and stuff. But I think it's just, it's the best way for me to communicate.
Okay. Now, here's the next question. Why is that important to you?
Well, if we're going off communication, I think just, humans have to communicate. And we all sort of have our own mediums in which we communicate, and whether that just be writing or talking or singing or poetry or, but photography has been, the best way for me to communicate. I can talk about pictures I take and talk about, when I've taken them. And so I think we all have to communicate. So luckily I found photography. And
so why is communicating important to you?
Oh man, if I could communicate better, I probably wouldn't be single. So
dude. You should just put some of your photos on Tinder. I mean, they say everything about you.
This guy's been married a lot, and he should change his look,
Well, I didn't mean your wedding photos. I meant your personal work.
No, God. But I mean, we have to communicate. I really, but I certainly love the value of photographs, and I do feel like I'm leaving a bit of a legacy, like if not for if not for humanity, at least for my little pocket of people that know me, leaving a little bit of a legacy. Nothing wrong with that.
All right, Preston. Thank you.
On that note.
Yeah.
All right.
If people want to find you online, what's the best place to? Are you on Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram is probably the best right now. Yeah, Preston_Utley. Obviously the website is there. If people want to fly me to Mexico or Italy or something, and I'm available for that.
Or ask you out on a date,
Or ask me out on a date. I'm around.
Hey, and what about your personal work? Do you have anywhere that we can see that?
The personal work on Instagram is The Snapshot Diaries. All one word, THE, Snapshot Diaries, yeah. Same with the website, it's thesnapshotdiaries.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
we're just hacking away at everything.
What's that?
I said we're just hacking away at everything.
Yeah. That's the job, isn't it? Okay, Preston, thanks so much for chatting with us today. Take care.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for reaching out. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.